Welcome to Esoteric Insomniac Livestream Part 2. Well, it's not really Part 2, it's just the second time I've done this, so. So it's not just for insomniacs, it's also for people who are in a different time zone. So last time I did this, the first time I did this live stream in the middle of the night, for me, I'm in Toronto, Canada. Right now it is a bit past 3 a.m. where I am, Eastern Time. And the one that I did before was around this time as well, I think, or it might have been a bit later, maybe 4 a.m. or something like that. But yeah, I got people from, I think, South Africa and yeah, some other countries, you know. So this is an opportunity for people to get a chance to experience a live stream with me that are usually not awake during the times where I do most of my live streams. So I do see that there is somebody here that's joined me on the channel. Feel free to say hi. If you have any questions that you want me to cover, then let me know, and we can talk about some different interesting occult subjects or paranormal or even like conspiracy or fringe culture, any of that stuff I'm totally into. And yeah, just give me a topic and I'll just start riffing off of it. um, so since there's no questions or no comments or anything like that, I might as well think of something to talk about. What should I talk about? How about, I mean, the last video I did was on lucid dreaming. Got into stuff like how to get into the lucid dream, but we didn't really get into what to do once you're in it or why you would want to do a lucid dream in the first place. So maybe I'll just list off a few things of why you would do. Oh, Restless KCMO. Hey Jeremy, how about thoughts on prophetic dreams? Yeah, sure. So a prophetic dream, meaning like a precognitive dream or something like that, where you are being shown something that later on ends up happening. So there's a couple things about this. I've definitely had experiences where I've felt like, whoa, I really feel like I had a dream where this happened before. And that's happened to me several times where I'm like, I remember having a dream. Sometimes it feels like the dream was years ago. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember dreaming about this. But I wonder, I have to wonder if I actually did dream that, or if I just have the sensation that I've dreamt it. You know, because in those particular instances that I've had that experience, I didn't have a record of that dream. And I record a lot of my dreams. I don't keep a dream journal religiously all of the time, but I do write down a lot of my dreams, like quite a bit. It actually helps with dream recall. If you write your dreams down most of the time, you will increase the amount of dreams you remember considerably. It's probably the most effective way to increase your dream recall is to write down any bit of a dream that you remember whatsoever. And especially if you're really strict about it, like if you write down something about every dream you remember, at least something at all. Because that sends a message to your subconscious mind. Remembering dreams is important, and then you'll remember more. Another major way to improve your dream recall, if you happen to be a regular cannabis user, quit using cannabis. Easier said than done, especially if you're a regular cannabis user. People say it's not addictive, and it's not necessarily physically addictive in the same way as you would normally think of, like an addictive drug like nicotine or cocaine or something like that, or opiates. You don't have the same kind of physical withdrawal. But with the high level THC cannabis that is out there now, I think that there is some amount of addiction, physical addiction, that does happen, I believe. But it's minor. It's easy to quit, really, unless you have emotional dependence on using it for, like, self-medicating for anxiety or something like that. It's difficult to remove that crutch, remove that support that you have that helps you deal with your anxiety or whatever. But if you do, maybe you're just using it recreationally for the heck of it because you enjoy it, then it's easier. It's easier to quit. And once you stop, I should say, once you stop using cannabis, within a couple days, you get what is called REM rebound. Let's see here. I do have a couple comments. Let me just read these before I move on. Restless said, okay, now I need to do that. That's next then. I'll start journaling. Yes, excellent. Definitely try that and let me know next time you're on here, or in a comment to this video. Even come back to this video and let me know how your journaling helps. If you do have increased dream recall, which I'm guaranteeing that you will. April Christian says, people that use cannabis believe they don't dream. And Restless says, do you think cannabis changes our vibration and allows us to tune easier? No, I don't. I don't believe that. I believe it basically slows down your mental functioning a little bit, and it stimulates some pleasure receptors. But I don't believe that it is spiritual, really. I know a lot of people think that, but I think it just makes you feel good. And there's a couple other things it does, of course, but I think it just kind of slows things down a little bit and allows you to not have to process, a lot of things all at once, maybe. And so some people use it to deal with anxiety or whatever. Restless says, some musicians feel it brings the muse. Well, now, yeah, there is an element of creativity that I think that sometimes it can enhance, potentially. Yeah, that is something that does happen occasionally, where it gets you in a different mindset, and it can sometimes allow you to enhance your creativity sometimes. But it also does diminish the amount of time you spend in REM sleep and the intensity of the dreams that you experience during an REM phase of your sleep. So it basically suppresses your dreams. And April had mentioned that people that use cannabis believe they don't dream. I believe that they do. They just don't dream as much or as intensely. The dreams aren't as vivid. They aren't as long. They don't spend as much time in the dream. And the dream isn't as intense. So it's harder to remember it. And when you stop using cannabis, once the cannabinoids leave your system, or start leaving your system, then you get a rebound effect of REM, where you'll get extra REM, where your body's basically trying to catch up with all the REM sleep it's missed out on. And you will get extra long and extra intense dreams when you're having this REM rebound effect when you quit using cannabis. And that can be used for lucid dreaming, because if you have a longer dream and it's more intense, you are more likely to recognize it as a dream. You're more likely to become lucid during that dream. So one thing that I say, you can actually use this to your own benefit. If you are a regular cannabis user for whatever reason, like I said, maybe you're using it to self-medicate for anxiety, or maybe you're using it, maybe you're just using it recreationally because you really like it. And that's especially the ideal situation, because then it's easier to quit, like I said. So what some people will do is, the people that are already regular users, I don't recommend this for somebody who isn't already a cannabis user, but I know that some people do this, where they will, have their regular usage for however long, like maybe let's say a week or something, but then they'll take a break for about 4 or 5 days. And during that 4 or 5 days, they really focus on their dream work practices. They really focus on that. Now, during the use phase, when they're using their cannabis, they will still practice. They'll drill in some of these habits, like state testing or whatever. But then you're really putting on the gas when you take the cannabis away, when you stop using it for that 4 days or whatever, and then you're having that rebound, and you're really focusing on your dream work during that time and trying to get the most out of that REM rebound, and then you cycle through again. This is for people, like I said, who are already regular cannabis users. I'm not suggesting that anybody take up cannabis use in order to get that rebound. It's actually much better if you just don't use it all. You're gonna get a more consistent, regular lucid dreams more often, and your dream life in general will be more rich and rewarding and transformative, in my opinion and my experience, if you are not using the cannabis. But like I said, but if you are already a regular user and you're not going to just completely quit, this is an alternative in that you can utilize that for the REM rebound effect. So we have another comment here, Luminous33, regarding lucid dreaming. I think it's good to allow the subconscious mind its own space to operate. Injecting the conscious mind into the dream realm can preclude symbolic messages from emerging. Thoughts? Yeah, that's something that a lot of people bring up. And I don't think that it's that big of a deal, because we have so many non-lucid dreams already that, generally most people don't have lucidity on every single dream. Usually it's a rare event. And so even if you're doing the practices, you're gonna probably not have a lucid dream every single time you dream. And it's probably not even half of the time. It's probably more like 1 in 10 if you're lucky and you're doing the practices regularly. Maybe about 1 in 10 dreams are going to be lucid. So you have those other 9 dreams to process all that subconscious material without conscious interference, you could say, if you're using that way of describing it. But the other aspect, that's one aspect that makes me think that it's not a big deal. But the other aspect is, when you are a beginner lucid dreamer, when you haven't really experienced very many lucid dreams yet, you are going to impose your own conscious mind and control over the dream and how it goes, and often even completely changing the dream, like going off script, in a sense, completely going off script and completely changing the dream almost 100%. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go here, do this, and it's completely different from what the dream was when you became lucid. And I think that that's a tendency that people who our more beginner lucid dreamers will have. And that's kind of a phase that people go through at the beginning, where it's like a wish fulfillment phase, where you just kind of like, now I'm lucid, I'm going to use this opportunity to do all kinds of things that I find enjoyable and fun, and then they just do those things. But you get bored. You get bored of just wish fulfillment dreams, and you'll start to do things like examining the dream realm and doing experiments. But even that starts to become almost like the novelty of that wears off a little bit. And ultimately, you end up, most lucid dreamers that I'm aware of, and this is a lot of anecdotal information, of course, but a lot of lucid dreamers, they will just go with the flow of the dream while maintaining consciousness of the fact that it is a dream, and they're not overly influencing the narrative or the characters that they're experiencing or things like that, but they will be acting with the knowledge that it's a dream. And so they're kind of letting the narrative play out, but they're engaging with it with the knowledge that it is a dream. And I think that is probably one of the healthier ways of going about it. And you're going to allow your subconscious mind to do its subconscious processing, but you have that awareness built into your experience of it, and the way that you interact with it in the dream. So I hope that answers that question. Let's see, do we have some more things here? Freedom to be in the know, welcome to the stream, says, wow, I've had some lucid dreams while awake, sort of like visions, and experienced astral introjection recently. It was crazy wild, but I sort of enjoyed those moments. Astral introjection, I've never heard that before. I've heard of astral projection, but I've never heard introjection before. So that's a new one to me. Maybe you could tell me what that means. Lucid dreams while awake. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. There's a couple different things you could mean. And there is something that happens sometimes where okay, well, let me say this first. So when you're in a dream and you realize that you're dreaming, i.e. you become lucid, especially if you announce, this is a dream, then something happens. The quality of the dream changes, and it kind of enhances it. It becomes more vivid, and the colors become brighter and more intense. It's like somebody cranks up the saturation level, and you just have this feeling of being connected with everything in the dream, and that depending on how intense this feeling gets, sometimes you can get to the point of where you're feeling like everything in the dream is sort of alive in a sense, and that you are intimately connected with all of it, including like the ash vault, or a plastic cup or something like that, right? That you feel very intensely connected with it, and like I said, and the colors become more brilliant and such. I have had that experience while awake, and it's very intense, and it's enjoyable. It's really interesting. It's like lucid living in a sense, but or lucid waking. And I'm not sure, the other version of that maybe you're talking about is if you're awake, but there's also dream imagery imposing itself on your waking experience. Like in my previous live stream, I mentioned this, where you have the waking experience, where you're tuned in to the data coming in from your physical sense organs. And so your body, or sorry, your mind takes in all the raw data, the electrochemical signals from the nerves when, the nerve endings get triggered, or the receptors in your eye get triggered to fire off an electrochemical signal down the optic nerve, or from the taste buds, or whatever. And that sensory data travels to the brain, and your mind compiles that data and presents a fully immersive virtual reality map or a representation of that data that you can interact with more easily, which is internally generated. The experience you have is internally generated, but it's based off of that data collected from your sense organs. That's the waking experience. Now you have the dreaming experience, which is also the same experience generator or simulator in a sense, but it's basing the simulation off of a different set of inputs, not physical sense organ data for the most part. Some does come in, like, for example, if you have the radio on while you're sleeping, or your alarm clock goes off, sometimes that sound gets incorporated into your dream. But for the most part, when you're having a dreaming experience, the majority of that experience is a representation of non-physical data, not coming from the physical sense organs, in other words. Now, those are the two main channels, or you could say radio channels almost, that you are generally tuned to. You're either tuned to the waking experience or you're tuned to the dreaming experience. Sometimes you can get tuned somewhere in between channels, where you are experiencing what you're experiencing is mostly based off of physical sense organ data, but there's also dreaming elements that are kind of like overlaid onto it or incorporated into it. Maybe something like when you are experiencing psychedelic drugs, like mushrooms or LSD or something like that, where you have some kind of non-physical data that's incorporating itself into that experience that you're having. So maybe that's what you're talking about. I'm not sure. Okay. Restless says, I have 3 basic types of dreams: just a dream, processing dream, and prophetic. Prophetic dreams that have come to pass fuel those moments of working towards understanding. Yeah, you should definitely be recording your dreams, because then you can determine whether or not you have a record of that dream, and then when it happens, you'll have that record dated, and then you can refer back to it. You're like, oh, I had that dream, and this is from my journal, and I had that dream 3 years ago, and this is exactly what happened, and this is a dream. I wrote it out, because maybe this is just my own personal theory on what it might be. It might be that it's more like a deja vu experience, and your brain is interpreting it as, I had that dream once. But maybe you never did have that dream. Maybe you just had the sensation that dream happened. But if you have that record in your journal, that's another way you can validate your experience. So let me see here. And then we have Freedom to Be in the Know said, maybe I don't have the wording correctly, and when I was referring to astral introjection, it was sort of like someone was visiting me astrally while I was in between waking and the dream state. You should definitely check out my most recent live stream, the Lucid Dreaming live stream, because I have a story about one of the experiences that I had in that in-between state, where I was visited by an entity, a dark mother nature goddess type figure, and it was pretty intense. Lucid living, dig that, Restless says. Cool. And I think that there's different levels of lucidity, just like there's different levels of lucidity in a dream, where you could know that you're in a dream, but still act almost as if it was a waking experience still. Or you can act with the full knowledge of the implications of it being a dream. Like, for an example that I haven't mentioned yet, I had a dream one time where I was in the back of a car as a passenger, and three of my good friends were in the car as well, and we were driving along, and then I realized that I was dreaming, and I tried to tell my friends that it was a dream so that they could join me so that they could become lucid as well in their dream. But it wasn't occurring to me that these are just dream characters that look like my friends, right? They aren't actually my friends dreaming. I'm having my dream, and these are characters in my dream that are based off of my friends. And I wasn't fully lucid of the full implications of it being a dream. And I was, that's it's lucid because I knew it was a dream, but the level of lucidity was not at the highest level you could get, where you're fully aware of the dream and the implications of that. So lucid living is like that as well, where there's different levels of lucidity that you can attain while you're awake. And let's see. Freedom to be in the know said yes, a lot like lucid living, definitely dream imagery. Okay. Right, a lot of this is from the waking experience. I'm fully aware, not asleep when this is happening. I think you're right. It is like in between. Sort of McKenna-ish. Yeah, it does seem like what you're describing, maybe like you are not fully in one of the two channels, that you're mainly maybe like this is the waking experience channel, and this is a dreaming experience channel, and maybe you are like here, maybe just slightly off, maybe like a couple like you're on the channel just to the right of it a little bit or to the left. I don't know, depending on which way you're seeing this on the screen. Let's see here. Oh, Reckless did a super chat, $9.99. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Reckless. He says, thank you for your time and efforts, Jeremy. Great chat as always. Really appreciate that, Restless. And I'm glad that you've been joining on my live streams a lot lately. You've added a lot to the discussion. I really appreciate that as well. Thank you so much. Freedom to be in the know said that makes sense to me. Great, yeah. I think that some of the most magical experiences that you can have are in that in-between channel. And I feel like the more internal conflicts, the internal dissonance, or whatever you want to call it, the more of those internal conflicts can be resolved, the more we're naturally going to be in that zone. And I think that potentially, like, if you were like some really high level of enlightened, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, but have progressed considerably on the path, that you would be able to withstand being in that for a lot longer. Because the thing is, if you don't have your internal conflicts resolved, then you are going to be plagued by demons or something. Your own internal demons will be manifest physically to you. Well, not necessarily physically, but they will be present in your visceral experience. You're actual, like, embedded into your experience, just like what you were talking about when you have like a dream, what I'm calling dream elements invading your waking experience. Um, that's one thing that actually, if you have some sort of mental illness, or you have some mental instability, some certain types of esoteric work are not advisable because you. Sorry, I'm just turning on the air in here because it's getting a little warm. It's unusually warm this time of year. It's not usually as warm as it is right now. It's far into September, I guess. But yeah, I think some types of esoteric or occult work can actually break down that barrier between the waking experience and the dreaming experience. And if you have a lot of internal conflicts, like if you have a lot of, let's say, suppressed traumas, like if you have a lot of unresolved suppressed traumas, then it can be very dangerous for you because you will get those dream elements intruding on your waking experience, and they could be very tormenting. So yeah, if actually Israel Regardie, the guy who published the Golden Dawn rituals for the Stella Matutina, kind of splinter group from the original Golden Dawn, he published that big black brick book where it's got like tons of rituals, like the initiation rituals and a lot of the knowledge lectures and things like that from the Golden Dawn. Israel Regardie was also like Aleister Crowley's secretary, and he wrote a ton of great books, a lot of them on Kabbalah and ceremonial magic and things like that. But Israel Regardie, he was actually a psychotherapist, I think, or was he a doctor? Was he like an actual psychiatrist? I'm not sure, but either way, he was some sort of therapist in some form or another, and he believed. I mean, of course, it's a bias. The man with the hammer only sees nails, but still, I think there's some validity to it. But he suggested that before you do magic, that before you get into some of these more intense esoteric practices, that you should do a year of therapy. That you should try and resolve a bunch of your internal conflicts before starting on this work. And I think that's very prudent to do. But some people have a lot more traumas, have experienced a lot more traumas in their life than others. So it's up to you to decide whether or not you feel like you have a lot of unresolved traumas that you want to deal with first before getting into some of that. Let's see here. Luminous 33 says, thanks, I like your idea of just observing the organic narrative. Appreciate your insights and knowledge, brother. Thank you for the comment. Yeah. It's one of the more enjoyable things to do in a lucid dream, actually, is to see where it's going to go, and to not interfere with like you said, the organic narrative too much. Of course, the knowledge that you are dreaming will have an impact on how you react, but it's a lot more kind of chill and really interesting. I find it very interesting. And a lot of times you get so surprised by some of the things that a dream character will say or do. It's really interesting, and a lot of times you're just kind of blown away by it. You're like, wow, like that. It's just like mind-blowing, like the insight that some of the dream characters will have sometimes. Freedom to be in the know said, yeah, I really enjoy those moments. It makes for an interesting life. I've noticed more and more that the ideas that I think about are manifested a lot more quickly, and that I have a lot more success in doing things that I never thought I could before relocating. Less fear, less shyness, and actually happier in life than I was before I moved. That's great. Israel Regardie was a wonderful author. I remember reading about his middle pillar exercise years ago. That is such a powerful exercise. I do something that I feel is very similar to that, which is more of a Taoist practice of the, Mantak Chia refers to it as the microcosmic orbit, but it's also sometimes translated as the little orbit or something like that, where or the minor circulation, something like that, where essentially it's it's like the solar system, where you have the planets in orbit around the sun or whatever, but you have an orbit in your own internal system, where you've got an energy that cycles up the spine and down the front through the gut brain, through the entire digestive tract, essentially, which is lined with a massive number of nerves. And the gut even has tons of neurotransmitters in it, and it's referred to often as the gut brain. So this Taoist practice is kind of similar to the middle pillar in a way, where you energy rises up the spine into the cranium and then comes down the front and then continues. It keeps like the cycle. You keep that going, and it kind of reminds me of something from The Secret of the Golden Flower, I think the book is called, which Carl Jung did a version of, or like an introduction to one of the versions, the copy that I have anyways. I think Carl Jung wrote the intro. But there's a famous quote from that, when it was something like, you just have to circulate the energy long enough and then it crystallizes. And if you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll know what I think about the idea of crystallization of your own energy body. So let's see, is there any more comments or anything here? Nope. But I do see that there's some more people here in the chat, or I mean in the live stream. If anybody has anything they want to share, please feel free to share it here, and we can discuss it. I don't have too much time left to do live stream, but yeah, I have time for a little bit more. You're truly one gifted psychic, I think. Really glad to have known you, says Freedom to be in the know. Well, I appreciate that. I take that as a compliment. Thank you very much, Freedom to be in the know. And I'm glad that you've participated in these live streams. I really appreciate all of you that are here and giving me things to talk about and things to think about as well. I get something out of this too. It's not just preaching, or giving some sort of sermon or whatever. I enjoy this back and forth. Yeah, thanks for being here, all of you. And you know what, I only have 2 likes. I don't want to be begging for likes, but if you give me a like, it really makes a big difference, because YouTube has really been slamming my channel like crazy. Every single video that I put out gets demonetized, at least for the first day or so, and then it gets sometimes gets remonetized after 24 hours, after most of the massive influx of views comes in. And so you only get that long tail, if you know the terminology. You only get the revenue from the long tail. And also, if you're demonetized, YouTube doesn't promote your videos nearly as much, because for one thing, they're not making any money off of it. So they like to promote the videos that they're making money off of. And if your video isn't monetized, it's not running ads or anything like that, then YouTube isn't going to make anything off of your video. So they're not as motivated to promote your video. So that's the main reason, because you don't really make that much money as a small channel like mine off of monetization, but you do get, if it's monetized, you do get more promotion from YouTube. Your video shows up in recommended videos, and related videos, and in search results and stuff more often if your video is monetized. So that's the big thing, especially for small YouTubers like myself, where I've got less than 4,000 subscribers. Although getting close. I think I've got, I think I might have less than 10 subscribers to go before I get to that 4,000 mark, which is kind of cool. But 4,000 subscribers is still a very small channel, and you know, I don't make like almost nothing off of this channel from the monetization, at least. April says, thank you, Jeremy, I'll send you a like. Thank you very much. Restless says, 1 like coming up. And I see I got 2 more likes. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It does help. But yeah, let's talk about something esoteric. Like the YouTube algorithm is pretty esoteric in a sense, where in the sense that it's hidden. They don't tell you exactly how it works, but that's like esoteric knowledge. Oh, Luminous33 liked you, bro. Great. I appreciate that again. So yeah, what was I saying before? I was saying something about dreams. I got kind of distracted with the comments and all that. You know, we were talking about tuning in between channels. Who believes that our body is an antenna that's receiving a signal from externally? Some people believe that. A lot of people believe that. And there is something that's compelling about that idea, that the nervous system itself is like an antenna that can send and receive signals. I think that's really interesting, and that's almost like the whole idea of talking about like tuning into a channel, that we're on the waking experience channel or the dreaming experience channel, or maybe sometimes we're tuned in between, right? And so it does kind of seem like that is something, you know, more of a connection with source, says Restless. Yeah, so source, I wonder what you mean by source. You have that term in the Matrix where they reinsert the code into the source, which is interesting. I like that movie a lot, or that trilogy. I heard that there's going to be a 4th Matrix movie. Did you hear that? With Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss? That would be interesting, you know, because they both died in that movie, didn't they? I mean, Neo, it's, you know, questionable, I guess, whether or not he actually died, because, I mean, his body was kind of carted away by the machines. And if you know anything about the Matrix Online, there's this game that they came out with called the Matrix Online. It's like a massive multiplayer online game, and they had basically it starts at the end of the 3rd movie, and one of the plot lines was that that Zion kept requesting to get Neo's body back, but the machines refused to give Neo's body back. So that's kind of interesting. What is it here? Freedom says, I definitely believe that, because as someone who has been interested in telepathy and psychic readings, divinations, for years now, I feel it to be true. And also, Freedom says, wow, now that's exciting. I think I'd love to see a new Matrix movie. Definitely going to look into that. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to watch it for sure. But I am weary about it. I'm not getting my hopes up too much, because so many sequels, especially. I mean, I know that there was already a trilogy of movies, but it's like so much time has passed. It's almost like, are they just trying to capitalize on a movie that they know people will watch without even knowing anything about it? You know, I think that's how, you know, Hollywood is doing things these days. They're picking movies to make that they know there's already a pre-made audience of people who are definitely going to see it no matter what. They're not willing to take a chance on anything new and creative. So I kind of feel like maybe there's gonna be a crappy Matrix movie that they're just gonna put out just to cash in. But the Wachowskis, I believe, are part of it. That they're writing it. The Wachowski siblings used to be the Wachowski brothers, but they both became transgender, which is interesting. They both did. Freedom also says, I'm glad you mentioned it because that is my favorite trilogy. I used to have the biggest crush on Keanu too. That's funny. Yeah, it's such an amazing movie. I love it. Or trilogy of movies. I love all of them. And the Animatrix as well. I love that too. And I didn't actually play the Matrix online game, but I did follow some of the storylines that came out of it. So that was kind of interesting because it kind of continued the story. And I wonder how much the fourth movie is going to take that Matrix Online storyline stuff as canon. Are they going to play off of that? Like maybe Neo's body comes back, or maybe they never gave Neo his body. What am I saying? Maybe the machines refused to give back the body of Neo to Zion because he wasn't actually dead. And maybe they kept him plugged in or something, and maybe that's going to be how they bring him back, you know. Or maybe he'll be fully digital. Maybe he won't have a physical body, a corporeal presence anymore that's connected to his consciousness. Maybe his body is no longer operational, but maybe he is fully uploaded, you know, into the Matrix or some sort of machine. Maybe he has a machine body now. He's in the machine world. Maybe, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how they bring him back, and especially Carrie-Anne Moss. How are they going to bring Carrie-Anne Moss back? Like Trinity. How does Trinity come back? You know, she wasn't even connected to the Matrix when she died. She died like with, you know, spoiler alert. But the movie's been out for a very long time, so yeah, she dies and she's not even connected to the Matrix when she dies, so I'm not sure how they're gonna bring her back. That's even more of a mystery to me. Sin says, hello Jeremy. Hello Sin. I'm glad you could make it into the live stream. I'm about to end it actually, but you caught me just at the end of it. But yeah, welcome, and goodbye. Luminous33 says, our minds/bodies are electromagnetic mechanisms, are they not? We're affected by outside forces and we also affect the phenomenal world. Isn't that the essence of magic in a sense? Well, definitely we do interact in more subtle ways than we realize, like that we're aware of on a, you know, daily basis or on a moment-to-moment basis. You know, it's obvious when we you know, touch something that we've impacted it, you know, like you push something that's soft and you can see the impact directly, you know. But I do believe that there is more subtle interactions that we have with that are probably could be scientifically measured, like electromagnetic, like you mentioned. Yeah, I do believe that. I don't know if it's exactly the essence of magic, but you know, I believe the magic can, you know, be worked through various different channels, including the dense physical level that you could. That magic is more about. It's so complex. One way of defining it is to increase the amount of synchronicities that you get in your life. That's one way that I like to describe it. I bought the collector's edition of They Live last week. Going to check out that link for a short film you post on Twitter after this, Reckless says. Yeah, definitely check it out. There's a video on YouTube. It's a short film, and I think it's called Corporate Monster. I think it's just a short film. I can't remember the name of the channel, but it's like a channel that posts like a weekly short film, and it's very similar in theme to that old classic cheesy movie with Rowdy Roddy Piper called They Live, with an exclamation mark. They Live. If you like that movie, you're gonna love this short film. And you can go to my Twitter at Jeremy Crow, and I've got, I think the most recent tweet, aside from announcing this live stream, was a link to that video, which was really, really cool short film. Yes, Corporate Monsters, Restless says. Cool. Yeah, definitely check that out. It's so cool. It's such a good. And the special effects are amazing. So I'm gonna have to hop off this live stream. We've been at it for almost an hour now, which is really fun, and I'm glad some of the regulars came by to hang out with me in the middle of the night and chat about all kinds of cool lucid dreaming and magic and the nature of consciousness itself, and some really cool things like that. Prophecy. A lot of love going on in the live chat right now. That's great. Yeah, love you guys. You guys are so cool. I'm glad you guys are joining me on this journey. And yes, magic is complex, which makes it fascinating. Absolutely. It's very fascinating to me. And yeah, see you, Jeremy. See you, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great night, wherever you are in the world. Have a great life. And lots of magic, lots of love, lots of excitement, And until next time, everyone, stay lucid.